What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I feel like there's a lot of things to go over that's been happening. So starting off on a larger scale, CPI came out. So I want to go over that and then kind of transition to what's really boosting Lucid higher. So starting off, CPI did come in a little bit better than the forecast. So year over year, 3%, forecast was 3.1, month over month, definitely very good. Negative 0.1 versus a forecast of 0.1. So that is a fair assumption that there is going to be rate cuts now in the foreseeable future. In fact, this jumped from 70 to now 86.3% of a likelihood of a 50 basis point cut. So all in all, pretty kick-ass stuff in that regard. And then no specific news to Lucid today, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. So it is just merely piggybacking off of their broader market for today. But there was a couple of things that did come out over the last 24 hours, including today, that I wanted to share with you. So one of which is this. So Peter Rawlinson did an interview, and that was at the Goodwood Festival, I believe that is. And so I think generally he said a lot of good things. I don't believe there was much new information, whereas my man, good old 𝗖𝗧𝗪, he did say a lot of good information. As you guys can see, the EV guy and 𝗪𝗪 definitely putting out some good information on Twitter, so make sure you guys pop over there and give them both a follow. Key assets to Lucid, among many other players. So I want to quickly play these near the tail end, and then I'll go over my kind of thoughts and takeaways. I am actually a little bit more excited about this one, especially based on what was said. But beside the point, going over some additional information right now, shorts are increasing 195,000 shares, 27.89% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 246.97 million shares overall are being shorted, utilization 93.3, and then cost to borrow average is 23.83. In case you are curious why it did change from that 28% and change or whatever it is, it's because 2 times per month the NASDAQ does report the true amount of data. It's always delayed. So that report did come out yesterday. So as of June the 28th, which again is delayed, there was 28.4% for the short interest. So then what Ortex and a lot of platforms use, they kind of take this information and then calculate it to present day. So that's why you kind of get that new short interest of 27.91. So let me know your thoughts on that. So shorts aren't really doing all that much. I would have anticipated them to return a little bit more given the CPI data and what's really been coming out with Lucid, but sometimes there's some losers in life, obviously. Right now it is at 4.13%. It did have a high of $3.40, low of $3.16. So once I go over the technicals, that'll make a little bit more sense. But a lot of money is looking at Lucid today. So 31.17 million shares have been traded so far within the first about 3 hours of the trading day. 22.5 is the average. These are some of the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So you do see bigger institutions paying attention to Lucid, 1.28 million, 1.12, and as well just algorithmic trading is making up for a lot of volume. So moving on, no new analyst ratings, nothing like that. So you still have the 3 that did come out recently over the last 48 hours that were relatively bearish. So I've already brought that up in previous videos. But looking right now with it at $3.28, it is trading between, well, right now I'm looking at the 1-day chart, but moving to the 1 week, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So Lucid's gone up so much so fast over the last little bit. It's kind of above the fib levels, so you can kind of even see right here it is outside the Bollinger Band. So in essence, just watch for 313 for the next strong support to hold, and that's aside from the 1 day, so $3.20. So right now Lucid definitely can go up very, very fast because of everything I just kind of mentioned. This is why a lot of people on social media are saying that Lucid is going to do a V, so meaning the stock price is just going to go up quite significantly. So I don't really see that happening. You know me, I'm a realist sometimes, not to burst your guys' bubble. Definitely can be seen as a pretty deep discount, but in order for that kind of V to happen, you need a specific catalyst to Lucid. But right now, I think it's just kind of stuck in limbo up until the earnings. Of course, not to take away from what Peter and 𝗖𝗧𝗛 did say. So I'm going to play that near the tail end. But right now you do see retail buying the dip. Stochastic is considered very overbought. So the first sign of weakness, you are going to see kind of a pullback. Nothing wrong with that. Still very healthy. And so I think all in all, Lucid's technicals are looking very, very good. And even aside from that, though, just a lot of the other data points as well are looking fairly optimistic, including options. So giving you a quick overview of that. So 1.39 million in calls, 98,000 in puts. Sentiment wise, 55% of all the options being done so far today are optimistic and bullish. And with Lucid now above $3, looking at the open interest, there are 16,000 in open interest at that $3 strike price. So if Lucid is obviously able to hold these gains and stay above $3 by the end of this Friday, then market makers are going to have to buy roughly 1.6 million shares on the open market to cover those options. So that could kind of cause a nice little bump up in the stock price. We'll just have to wait and see. So all in all, that was a very quick synopsis of what's been happening, what's really driving Lucid alongside just the broader market higher. So I wanted to go over these two things, like I said. So first one is only 3 minutes. This is 𝗖𝗧𝗛𝗛, and he's obviously talking about updates coming from Saudi Arabia. And he does bring up one thing that I feel is very good that people might have not essentially known prior to this. And then I'll go over this one right here. Peter's one is a little bit long, and I don't know. I have some issues with this. I kind of did a video yesterday talking about manipulation and how just articles are portraying Lucid in a certain light. And this individual, I don't know the interviewer's name, but I don't know if I can call him that, but he's a dick. Just the way he handles himself, it's just, especially after Peter kind of said his initial kind of speech, the guy's like, oh, nice, it was a nice finish your salesman's pitch or something like that. You'll hear it in a second. I get it. I get to call, and many other investors get to call that, like, Peter, his salesman pitches, but not during an interview. That is very unprofessional. So I just didn't like that. But once again, you guys will listen in on that.
You mentioned 𝗖𝗧𝗛𝗡. We are working very closely with private players like Sasco, Elidris, Petromen, Electromen, trying to get that, infrastructure going at the right places. As I said, home-based, a Lucid car having 800, plus kilometers on a single charge can really survive without having, let's say, public infrastructure. But the other OEMs that have lot lower range, their cars definitely require it, and that's hence the transition becoming slower over time. Definitely public infrastructure is needed between cities, for large cities from like Jeddah to Medina, Jeddah to Dammam, Riyadh to Dammam, Riyadh to Jeddah. All of these routes need DC fast chargers, and we're working with our partners like 𝗖𝗧𝗛𝗡 to make sure that that happens. We've recently signed an MOU with 𝗖𝗧𝗛𝗡. We've signed with Turning Point and Wallbox in the kingdom, just to make sure that that transition is happening much faster and at the right places. In September of last year, you were at the event. We had our first international plant, and it is an assembly plant, but it is located in Cake, and it's fully functional. The cars that are now being delivered to the consumers in KSA and in UAE are Saudi assembled cars. So a proud moment for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to be able to export these vehicles out to UAE and sell it to the consumers there. We are already constructing the CBU plant. It is under construction. It is on target, and by, as I said, late decade, we are on track to have this plant ready before 2030 for sure. It is going to be ready, and we are going to produce our mid-size platform out of that plant for regional exports also from the country. Deliveries are on track. Actually, we are selling, I think, overachieving our targets.
See that smile that he gives? That's confidence right there. And coming from an investor standpoint, that shows that they're moving in the right direction.
Because I can definitely say that by the end of this year, when the results come out and get tabulated, we will be the leader in our segment already. We have sold enough cars this year that some of the market leaders sell in the full year. So we're definitely making strides in selling the car. The car is very much appreciated because of its efficiency and because of the wall charging, that home charging that we are providing. A lot of the consumers are finding out that it's very easy, very affordable to own a Lucid Air product. We've already announced that the plant that we're going to build in AMP2 at Cake AMP2 plant is going to have a capacity of 150,000 vehicles at peak, and we are still planning that same thing.
So yeah, a lot of good things was said there. Notably that they're going to be having the midsize SUV running out of AMP2. So that was, I don't feel like people have been saying that in passing, but I feel like that is confirmation of that. And then just how they're going to hit their target. So that's what I really liked about this. This one's a little bit longer, so it is 8 minutes. But again, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely you guys can tune into this. Like I said, it's there's a lot of things that the interviewer does bring up that I don't like, that similar to the last couple conferences, both the Deutsche Bank and Evercore, Peter's asked about dilution and just how much cash burn and stuff like that. So this one, I feel like nothing really substantial. You didn't have to go out and buy anything for Lucid because of this one. Rather, it's the 𝗖𝗧𝗛 one. But then again, I think this is just good coverage overall. So let me know your thoughts on this one as well.
Talking about petrol, we're talking about EVs, and as you say, the CEO of Lucid joining me now, which is a fantastic conversation. We hope. Danny, I'm going to bring you that now. Peter Rawlinson, the CEO, of course, of Lucid. Let's start then with the production delivery numbers. As Danny was saying, stronger than the markets expected. The shares have had a lift on the back of this. And we compare that as well. We bring in the Tesla story, because they've come in with slightly better numbers as well in recent days. Is this a sign that the EV market is starting to turn around, Peter?
It certainly is for us. We're up 70% quarter on quarter with a record delivery in Q2 on the back of another record delivery in Q1. Things are looking up. And I think more people are getting the message that we have an extraordinary product in Lucid Air. And everyone's also looking forward to our new SUV, the Gravity, which is coming later this year.
Give us an update on the Gravity, because I know analysts are looking at that as well. And they know that they see that as consequential, really consequential for your story longer term. So the Gravity SUV,
yes.
Is production on track? What is the time frame? What is demand looking like?
It is scheduled for start of production late this year. We're seeing an incredible latent demand because this is an unprecedented product. It has a range of attributes which really have no right to coexist. It has the driving dynamics superior to a Lamborghini Urus. It has the presence and stance of a Range Rover. It has more interior space than an Escalade, and yet it is only a slightly smaller on the outside than our Lucid Air. It's a 7-seat, 3-row SUV. This is what the market has been waiting for.
Okay, that's a very good sales pitch there, Peter. Talk to us about the margin story, the profitability then. What...
Yeah, I just had to pause it. So yeah, that's what I meant. That's a nice sales pitch. It's like, that's not what you say. It's not a sales pitch. It's just, I don't know. It's just that one, as soon as I heard that, it's like, okay, this is where your viewpoint is on Lucid.
Point can you start to raise prices for your vehicles and start to push margins out of negative territory?
Well, we've been able to bring successively more attainable products to market, where our range now starts at just $69,900, and we're able to do that because we've got the most advanced technology in the world. Let me explain. We're able to go further with less battery energy than anyone else. I recently announced that we hit the magic 5 miles per kilowatt hour landmark, and we're going to reveal a product which achieves that very soon. We're actually at 4.74 miles per kilowatt hour here today with our pure electric vehicle. Now, that pure variant has a range of 419 miles, more range than anyone else in the marketplace, but it does it with just an 88 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that makes it the most sustainable vehicle on the market today. Any journey you take, that car uses less electricity to go from A to B than anything else in the world today that's on the mass market.
Okay.
And that means we can have less minerals, less dependence upon mines around the world, less dependence upon sources of lithium, nickel, cobalt. And this is what the world needs: more efficient, more energy efficient, and more high-tech EVs. And Lucid is leading the way in this respect.
Okay, 5 miles per kilowatt hour, as you say, a magic number,
Landmark.
as a landmark number, as you've described it. You are, of course, backed by Saudi Arabia, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, to the tune of about $6.4 billion US. Is it fair to assume that you're going to need to raise a similar amount, around the $6 billion level, to push forward into the future? Is that about an appropriate number to be thinking about in terms of future funding?
We haven't guided on the actual quantum, but let me tell you, this is a capital-intensive business, and we do need to raise more money, and we will at opportune moments in time on the future. Our vision is to be a major player here. The SUV this year, and we've got the mid-size platform coming late 26, and that's going to be a high-volume vehicle, mass-produced both in the US and in Saudi Arabia.
And you've talked about being in this for the long run with the PIF, with Saudi Arabia. Is there a line that they draw somewhere, Peter, where they say, okay, this is enough?
Look, they're the perfect long-term partners. We share a long-term vision, and we're mutually incentivized for success. They want this as much as I do. Watch this space. They're in for the long term. And this transcends a mere financial investment. We are a cornerstone of them realizing their bold Vision 2030, where they transition their quintessential fossil fuel economy to an environmentally sustainable economy.
Okay. When you say watch this space, something's going off in my mind suggesting that maybe they're going to come through with another check soon from the Saudis for the business. Talk to me about the deal you did.
That's another dick comment.
With Aston Martin, because it's interesting. So you've licensed some of your technology to Aston Martin. Talk to us about the consequences. They have delayed their EV. Does that have an impact on that deal? Does that have an impact on Lucid?
Very mildly. But the deal is very strong. It secures them a high-tech electric technology for the next decade. We're supplying them with modules for the battery pack, our Wonderbox charging, two-way charging technology, and our Sapphire drive units. These are the world's finest drive units, and it's appropriate that Aston Martin gets the really top-end stuff from our range, the hypercar, high performance. If you look at the future, though, it gets a lot more exciting.
Were you disappointed that they delayed their EV?
Well, absolutely. Any delay in any EV is less than ideal, but it's going to come, and we have secured their electric hypercar future for the next decade.
Is that a template for other licensing
Absolutely,
deals?
I hope it is, and it's actually initiated a lot more interest. We are in discussions with others, and when it gets really exciting is you look at the technology that we're developing now for a mid-sized platform for late 26. That really suits mass market family car applications. That's why we're in this. We're not here to be a niche player. Lucid's here to bring down the cost of electric vehicles for the benefit of all and be a major player.
And Rivian doing an interesting deal with Volkswagen.
Indeed.
Investment from VW into Rivian in exchange for some technology.
Yes.
Is that something you would consider, that kind of partnership, that kind of deal?
I'm always interested in partnerships which involve our technology.
Okay.
That's the only thing I didn't really like about what Peter said. I feel like he could have elaborated more, unless he does have a smirk, right? So I don't know if he's trying to purposefully not say something or if he's just answering it bad. This one's kind of hard to explain. Clearly, I think every indication out there is that there's a Hyundai deal, but yeah.
We talked about the Gravity, the SUV, coming online. You talked about production at the end of this year. Deliveries next year then. What about manufacturing in Saudi Arabia? That's part of a process outside of Jeddah. You're putting the car together there, but in terms of full-term manufacturing in Saudi Arabia, when does that come online, and what is the challenge in Saudi Arabia? Is there a challenge around talent?
There's always a challenge around talent, because as a company, we're only as good as the brain power that we can attract. No company in its own right has experience. It's only the brilliance of the employees that represent the capability of a company. But we already have the very first car plant operating in Saudi Arabia. Right this moment it is running, and that is a kit assembly plant on a very modest scale. We are actually laying the foundations for our major plant, which will be scaled for 150,000 unit capacity per annum as we speak, and that is scheduled to be ready for production late 26, where we'll put our mid-size vehicle into that plant.
Okay, Peter Rawlinson, thank you very much indeed. CTO and CEO of Lucid.
So yeah, let me know your thoughts of Peter, the interviewer, or E, or whatever the hell it is, and then Faisal. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that, you guys have a kick-ass day.